I wanted to switch real quick, talking into the season recaps all throughout Europe. And Serie A was just an incredible finish yesterday. And we're so accustomed to seeing Juventus and, of course, AC Milan, which, what a debacle they had. Those teams qualifying for some of those Champions League spots, competing for Scudetto, and those two teams being jumped by Roma and Como. As great as those two stories are, we can tackle those as well. How great of a story is Roma getting back in Champions League, Como qualifying for Champions League, but also what is going on to Juventus and AC Milan? What a disastrous season.
Yeah, it is on a sporting level. You know, that was their minimum going into this season to make the top four. And I think the race was sort of intensified at the moment, like probably 2 months back, when you realise that there's not going to be a fifth Champions League place. So you know it is just a battle for the top four, and there is at least one biggie missing out because, of course, it meant a lot to Roma as well. I mean, they've been in financial difficulty for a while now, and part of that has been because of this 8-year absence from the Champions League. Is no small part of that. But look, I think you look at just huge teams missing out, and in Juventus and Milan, but two huge coaches missing out. You know, the fact is, Juve really hitched their wagon to Luciano Spalletti. They're happy with everything he's done, really, on the whole. So now they're kind of looking around for someone else to sack. Is it going to be Damian Comolli, the general manager? Is it going to be him? There'll obviously have to be some changes because a lot of the forward players that they brought in last year just didn't adapt at all, and they've got a lot of deadwood that they need to clear, but whose market value has dropped a lot, like Lois Openda. And then you've got Max Allegri, whose football or brand of football is only really justifiable in you getting results. Now, if you go back to the fact that they've had no European football this season, so he's been able to coach the hell out of them, so they should be singing from the same hymn sheet. That in the first 2/3 of the season, they're impeccable defensively. That up until the international break, they're even an outside shot for the title. And they end up not making the top four. I mean, and not even like close in the end because of, the way they lost to Cagliari yesterday is pretty unforgivable, actually, and really shows that there were problems going back a couple of months that they've just not dealt with. And obviously the fact that Christian Pulisic hasn't scored since December is really one of those problems. But I think you look at the other side of it, of course, Como playing without any pressure, Roma, who did have pressure but really peaked at the right time, and Paulo Dybala coming back and being fit for the last 5-6 weeks of the season really helped as well.
Just on Como, going from Serie B into the Champions League, we've been hearing a lot from Cesc Fàbregas, who's been doing the media tours recently and raising his profile. How impressed are you with the job he's done there? Are you surprised he's not being linked with some of those big jobs this summer? And is he that next kind of cab off the big name rank?
Well, obviously, from a normal logical perspective, he should be. But there's a very particular situation between him and Como, because not only did he get them promoted, not only has he invested a lot emotionally into the club, and they're letting him develop in a way without pressure that he would encounter at bigger clubs, but he's actually financially invested as well. He's a shareholder in the club. So the fact is, this is not some place where he's just, turning up with a day pass. He's got the full 5-year membership with benefits. He feels he has to eat at the bar as well. So I think you look at Fàbregas, and I think if you're him, you're thinking, A, I'm in a great situation where I'm working for myself because the club is gaining value and prestige. The club that I part own is owning prestige and value while I'm here. He's getting to work with fantastic young players. He's got better resources financially than, say, Milan do at the moment, which I think is a big deal. Now, he was linked to a load of jobs last summer, and Leipzig were interested, Inter were interested before they got Kivu. Leverkusen thought they had him at one point, and they didn't. And I guess in terms of the speculation not really being there this summer, I think everyone realised, it was a bit of an eye-opener for people last summer. They realised how invested he was in the club, how attached he was at the club. It's a bit like your Pochettino at Spurs and then some. The fact that you realise you're never going to have it so good in terms of control anywhere else. Go to another club, and if you have 4 bad months, you're gone. At the moment, he gets to go out and try the Champions League next season, which is a huge bonus that they weren't expecting. Test himself in that, and then he can gradually take this bigger job when he's 2, 3, 4 years further down the line. And I think that's exactly what he'll do.
Excellent. Look, Andy, excellent as always from you. And if people don't already subscribe to the Trans-Euro Express show, which you are so sensationally fronting at the moment, then they need to get involved because it's brilliant.
Well, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Andy.
The
Much
great
love.
Andy Brassell joining us here on the S Word. Just as a mention for Como, I know we've got a break and tell me off.
He will.
It's absolutely worth mentioning the role that Tony Bloom, Brighton and Jamestown Analytics have had in the rise of a bunch of football clubs in recent years, right? Stop. This is a serious point, right? This is genuinely, I want to know what's happening inside that building. I'm desperate to find out what they're doing because not only are Brighton qualifying for European football again, right? Como have gone from Serie B to getting into the Champions League. Hearts utilised their services exclusively in Scotland and came very, very close to getting a first Scottish Premiership title in 42 years, not going to Glasgow. Royal Union Saint-Gilloise use them, and they've gone from a second-tier team into the Champions League. Ipswich use them to get from League One to the Premier League, at which point they weren't allowed to use them anymore because of the links to Brighton. Like, there's something they're doing in that building that is turning smaller, like, up-and-coming football teams into just behemoths that are qualifying for top-tier competitions, and I am desperate. The nerd in me wants to know what on earth Tony Bloom and that company are doing, because Como is just the latest amazing story in their run.
Well, you just glazed them off, so maybe they'll give you a chance to go inside and go see what's going on.
Yes, please. Yeah, we've got to move on. Angelina's joining us in the studio. We'll be talking about the Women's Champions League final, and we might just sneak in a mention for the Premier League Player of the Season, Bruno Fernandes.
The daily deep dive into the world of football. The S Word from talkSPORT.